What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. We have on our hands today the Azure Vaults. And it's one of the last dungeons I haven't done yet. Let me move the volume a little bit there. There we go. It's a cool one. It's not actually... not my favorite, for sure. This is not my favorite dungeon. It's fine. It's just... I don't know what it is about this dungeon. It doesn't really feel fresh to me. It's really strange, but like Brackenhide Hollow just feels like so fresh, you know? The dragon riding dungeon just feels so fresh because like you get to dragon ride in it. Nelthera's just feels really cool. It feels like you're inside a furnace. You know, it really does feel like that. I don't know what it is about this dungeon that it just feels kind of like the old Wrath dungeon. The one that looks like this. Looks like Azure. It's got Azure Vaults and stuff. So I forget what it's called, but you guys, I'm sure you guys know what I'm saying. Somebody let me know in the comments below which dungeon I'm talking about. But there's a dungeon in Wrath that has like plants that are like covered in ice and like big, you know, golems, and it's all the Azure. You know, there's like worm dudes all over the place, and you know, this just has a similar vibe to that, and it's not the exact same, but for some reason, it just doesn't feel super fresh. I'm not sure what it is, but some of the boss fights are actually really cool, and I don't want to, you know, completely dump on this dungeon, but this dungeon will actually be part of the Season 1 rotation. We got word of that yesterday, actually, a couple days ago, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Look at all my spirits. A little bit more about that in another video, the rotation for Season 1 and what I think about it. But let's get into the Azure Vaults. Let's talk about this. This is obviously the opening trash section here. I didn't know how a lot of the mechanics worked in here, so we are going to, you know, our damage isn't super great. But, again, this is beta, guys. This is not one of the moments when you should be evaluating how people's damage, how much damage people are doing. Really just think about how do the dungeons feel? How do they look? What's going on in these dungeons? Yada, yada. Are they fun to play? So in this first boss room, you can see the boss is in the middle. You have to clear the entire room. Pretty standard stuff. So you go around the circle and you clear the room. Nothing too crazy there. This first boss fight is called LEYMOR. And he's a big golem. Not unsimilar to the golem that's in the Wrath of the Lich King dungeon, but I'm going to stop talking about that. So he puts these plants down. And basically these plants, if you stand near them, they're going to do a ton of damage to you. Later on, he's going to do a big ability where he smashes them all. Now, that spike that you just saw go off there, let me back up a second and show you again. Erupting Fissure. This is supposed to go through the plants. And if it goes through the plants, it'll, like, get rid of them. And our tank didn't obviously understand that, and that's okay. And so if you don't get rid of the plants, then eventually he's going to do his big signature ability, and it's going to do a lot more damage because all the plants are still up. So Consuming Stomp, I believe. Here it goes. Boom. See, we almost die there. In fact, Maez does die, the DPS. So he puts down these leyline sprouts, and you need to get the tank to hit them with the big spike ability right here. Not here. That's Infused Strike. It's coming up right now. He's going to do his big stomp, and it's going to send spikes into the ground. Those spikes will get rid of the plants. Erupting Fissure is what it's called. You can see it happening right here. Now, it doesn't actually do anything here, I don't think, because I think the tank aims it here, and it doesn't look like it gets rid of the plants. So I think it's bugged, but in the dungeon journal, that is exactly what you are supposed to do. And so that fight, I think, on High Tyrannical, if your tank screws it up, you're going to die. That's the bottom line. So it's really all about the tank on that one and making sure that he is doing the fight correctly. Yeah, let's move ahead here. This is a little maze here. You have to get through this. It's kind of like the Mechagon maze where you can't get hit by these detectors. I don't really know actually what happens if the whelps touch you with those little rings, but I can't be good. So just dodge those rings. Then there's a really cool mechanic here where you like fly around the dungeon with these books. It just looks gorgeous. Once again, I'm never going to harp on the way that these dungeons look. They look amazing. You basically start traveling down the rings. All these rings in a circle, you're going to start flying down those rings. So you got to clear all this trash, of course, first. And You need to dodge these like arcane circles on the ground or else they put you to sleep. You can see right there I got hit. Now, the actual hitbox for these little circles is bigger than the swirly that shows up on the ground. It's very annoying. I'm going to show you once again right here. I get hit by it again. I think it happens right. So you can see them start forming. I start running. I'm running away. I'm definitely outside of the ring, but I get clipped anyway. So this is like a mechanic that you're just going to have to respect and run very, very quickly. Make sure you get out of the way of those or you will continue to fall asleep, and you don't want to do that. There, once again, I do it properly this time. I finally dodge it this time, like a true Chad. But see how far away I have to run? Like, I got to run really far away from where they're landing. Otherwise, you'll get clipped. So then there's a book back here. You take this first book, and down we go. Proceed onwards. Very gorgeous. Look at this place. It is absolutely gorgeous. I do like the aesthetic of it. Very, very cool. Once again, we're going to clear this section. Look at all my auspicious spirits. Auspicious spirits everywhere. They did just change the Shadow Priest tree once again. So I did a video on Shadow Priest a couple days ago. The tree has changed dramatically, actually, since then, unfortunately. So I'll have to do a follow-up video to that and see how much better it is now. But yeah, let's push on here. Another book that we're going to take here. It's way over here. We're going to leave this whole area. We've traveled all the way down the different rings. Now we're going to a new area here. This is us approaching the second boss here. This is AZUREBLADE. He's that dude in the middle. There was no audio cue for when we pulled him. So we end up killing this pack over here. And then we pull the boss, and he just nothing happens. Like, usually there's like a big audio cue when you pull the boss, so kind of weird. The main mechanic for AZUREBLADE is that he's going to jump to the middle of the room, and he's going to spawn a bunch of images. So he's spawned an image right now, but also this ball. Don't stand in front of that ball. You'll just die later. Once he gets to a certain health percentage, he's going to go to the middle of the room. He starts running to the middle of the room like this, and he spawns a bunch of ads. These ads need to be killed. They are making him invincible. And then he spawns a bunch of arcane orbs. So you have to dodge the orbs and kill the ads. Nothing really new here. I decided just to step into the orb for fun. Of course, I have to test these things for you guys, okay? I have to be the one to walk in the fire, you know? I realized very quickly that I should not get hit by that orb, because it will, in fact, kill me. This is only on Heroic, and it did, like, more than half my health. So I think on any level of Mythic Plus, those will literally kill you. So that's kind of the entire fight. Dodge the orb, and then when he's invincible, kill the ads and dodge the orb. So a little boring, a little bit boring for sure. The only cool thing about this is going to be on Mythic. When the ads die, they will drop like this heat-seeking arcane missile that will follow players. I don't know by the wording in the Dungeon Journal. It might be that when you kill one ad, it sends out a missile to every one of you, so all 5 players. So if you kill all the ads at the same time, you're going to be getting like 3 or 4 missiles on each enemy, on each ally, sorry, at the same time, which I think would absolutely kill you. So there might be, the fight might get a little bit more interesting on Mythic, where you have to stagger your killing of the ads, or else you will take too much damage all at once. So that is my thought there. That's potentially what might end up happening on Mythic. Now, it might not. It might just be that if you kill one ad, it only sends out 1 missile towards 1 player. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see how Mythic kind of goes. I do hope, actually, that when you kill one ad, that it spawns a missile for every player, because that would mean it's very dangerous, and you would definitely need to stagger the amount of missiles that are coming out all at the same time. So I kind of do hope for that. So we're approaching the final area here. You're going to kill these Draconoid breakers, and you're going to take the final book, and you're going to fly to the third boss. This boss is a big circle boss, and you can see there are runes etched out on the ground. You're going to need to use those. This entire boss fight revolves around him. Basically, your team needs to manage Frost Bomb. He's casting it right now. So we're completely stupid, and we just place it like all over the place. You do not want to do this. Do not put Frost Bomb where we just put it. You basically need to stack tightly as a group and put all the frost bombs very, very close to each other, because he is just going to keep casting frost bomb, and it's going to cover the entire room. And then he's going to cast below 0. So he jumps to the middle, and he starts casting below 0. That is the little zone you need to stand in. There's there's another one over there. There's an arcane zone over here. There's an arcane zone right here, and I think there's another one on the other side of him. What you need to do is stand in that, or else you'll die to below 0. The problem is we've all put our frost bombs right on top of where the arcane thing is, so that's not okay. You can't do that. Okay, so that's the entire fight. Manage your frost bombs, and then stand in the arcane circle for protection. Now, on mythic difficulty, it gets really interesting. The arcane shield that we just used a minute ago, once you use an arcane shield, you can't use it ever again. So that's like the hard enrage on this fight. You need to have enough DPS to kill this boss by the time all of the runes have been used. And by the way, these frost bombs here, they last for 3 minutes. So again, you need to space them appropriately. You see, we've covered like half the arena already. That's not okay. You can't really do that. So you're going to have a good strategy for dropping off your frost bombs, and a good strategy for a good amount of DPS to make sure you can burn the boss before you run out of those arcane shields. Now look at this last boss here. This guy's gorgeous. This is like a crystal dragon. This room looks amazing, and this boss looks absolutely amazing. I think this is really, really cool. I love this dragon. He looks so cool. So the main mechanic for UMBRELSKUL, which is this dragon here, is that when you get him to... when you knock off 25% of his health, and then 50% of his health, and then 75% of his health, at each one of those intervals, he will break off chunks of crystals off of like his back. And when he does that, those crystals become adds essentially that you need to kill. They're gonna slowly start channeling fracture. So crystalline roar is an ability, and you should just get out of that. And then there's the first one. We've got 25% of his health. So the crystals are here. They're going to start detonating. You need to beat them up. You need to kill these crystals. They'll start casting Fracture. If they all start casting Fracture, it'll basically be a wipe. So you need to DPS them down, blow them up. And there we go. We've kind of taken care of them. Now, we've almost got him down to 50% health, which is which is dangerous again. He does Unleash Destruction, which is just AoE damage. You just have to heal this up. That's a healer thing. Here comes the next set of crystals, detonating crystals. You got to get rid of those. Now, we are super giga slowed. I think that happened when he pushed us back. Let me check really quickly. Yeah, when he does Unleash Destruction, you can see I'm slowed right now. I'm really slow. Now, I could pop Dispersion. For me, that would get rid of it. Or I could, I think, do Dispel Magic. I don't even think I had Dispel Magic talented. So this is something you would need to talent for this dungeon. But the Drakthir guy pulls me over here, which is actually kind of cool. Gets me out of the beam. I would have been hit by that crystalline roar. So this is something where you're going to have to figure out a strategy for what you do with this. But you need to make sure you break this slow. Now he does Arcane Eruption. That's very dangerous. You don't want to stand in those circles, of course. And then he's done his last Fracture. So there's more crystals out again. Very, very dangerous. Now here's what's really cool about this fight. On Mythic... the entire time, the boss has this aura called Oppressive Miasma, and it basically says that he emits an aura that slows players by 5% for 10 seconds whenever they move, and that stacks up. It will stack. So anytime you move, you're going to be slowed by 5%, which is really, really dangerous, of course. If you remove or dispel the debuff, then it gives the boss a 3% damage buff. So... imagine this entire fight here now. We're being slowed by 5% whenever we move. And then if you get dispelled, or if the buff falls off after 10 seconds, then the damage of the boss goes up by 3%. So you're going to have to manage this slowing debuff with the damage increase debuff. You don't want to move as much as possible, but eventually you're going to have to move because he might hit you with his big dragon roar, or he's going to push you back. With his with the other dragon, with Unleash Destruction right here, he's gonna knock you back. Watch this. I get knocked back, so that counts as moving, right? So on Mythic, I think this is gonna be a really interesting fight that you're gonna have to try and manage, not giving the boss too much damage, or else you're just gonna die. So that's the dungeon, guys. That is the Azure Vaults. It's pretty cool. LEYMOR boss at the beginning is all about managing those plants. Again, I don't think it's working because the tank did try to send the spikes through the plants and it didn't really do anything. AZUREBLADE is okay. That fight is okay. I think that it's kind of lame, to be honest, but you're basically just dodging the arcane balls all the time. And I think on Mythic difficulty, it might be much more interesting because you might have to stagger the ad killing a little bit. TELASH Greywing with the Frost Ground is really, really cool. You have to manage where you're putting the Frost Ground, and then you have to manage the things that keep you safe, those little safe arcane zones. And then this Dragon guy at the end, of course, is going to be very difficult, I think, on Mythic, managing the slow plus the damage debuff. So that's the dungeon, guys. That's the Azure Vaults. I really like it. There's the one boss I'm not really happy about, and I'm not a huge fan of just the Azure Vault in general, because I feel like we've done this a lot of times before. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, maybe I'm just crazy, and this dungeon's really, really cool. Maybe you guys have been waiting for this kind of dungeon to return to the game since Wrath of the Lich King, when we did something that was very similar. So I'm just not a huge fan of this kind of aesthetic for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that doesn't really matter. That's inconsequential. Is the dungeon interesting? Yes, I think the bosses are very interesting, except for the one boss, but he might be interesting on Mythic. And I think that the layout's fine. It's a little bit linear compared to some of the other dungeons that we've seen, so there's not really any room for player strategy, for player agency, and I think that's another reason why I'm not really in love with this dungeon. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about the Azure Vault in Dragonflight? Do you think it's going to be fun? Did you like the boss fights that you saw so far? Let me know in those comments down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.